All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Syboulette. It's very nice to meet you. I'm very nervous because this is the very first time I'm gonna stream. So I hope I will be able to explain to you the process of making CC content. And if you have any question, please ask. The thing I noticed when I did some tests with the live stream process is that there is a lot of latency between when you write something and when I receive the message, and when I speak and you receive the voice. So it's possible if you ask question or anything that I won't respond like right away. I hope it will be as smooth as possible. So if you followed the Patreon post about this live stream, I made a vote about what we will create today, and the dining table won. It was very short. So if you want to see what we are going to create, I'm gonna pass to you. No, I can't do it here. Right. How can I send you this? There. This is the picture of what we're going to create today. So I chose this table because it's very simple. So we can focus on every step about the meshing, obviously, but also how to unwrap the UV map, or how to texture it, how to assign cut, how to assemble everything in Sim4 Studio, adding slots, and I'm gonna also show you how I bake my texture so they don't look too bland. So I'm gonna start with Blender. There you go. There you go. I'm using Blender 2.76 because it's right away compatible with Sim4 Studio, which I use. Some people like to use the latest version of Blender, which is the 2.9, I think now, and then to convert to 2.76, but because I learned in this version, I'm confident, and it's okay for me to use that. So I just added here a plugin. Every key on my keyboard I will hit, you can see the shortcut, so you can keep track of what I'm doing with my keyboard, because I use my keyboard a lot. So first, if we take a look again at the table, it's very simple. It's just a rectangle, and then this is some cube with holes, basically. It's very simple shape. So what I usually do when I start something that will be functional is I start cloning EA item so I can keep the proportion. Because the least you touch the proportion, the least you will have problem with the animation. And also, if people made OMSP, I think it's the other, to put something on top of like regular table, then it will fit. So I usually don't change proportion. So I'm using Sim4 Studio. I'm gonna click on Create 3D Mesh, and I'm gonna look for a dining table. This is most likely here you can see two tiles, so it's probably like we'll see. So I keep that. I already created a file. I will name it Livestream dining table. And then I can look at the item I have. So the first thing I'm gonna see is in the rig. As you can see, there is what? There's no chair. Okay, I'm a little lost here because usually there's supposed to be some slot for the chairs. So I'm wondering if the latest update changed that. That's weird. You know what? I'm gonna clone probably an item I already made so I can be sure of what I do. It's the coffee table, probably, maybe. Yes, you're right, coffee table. Thank you, Little Vika. All right. So this is table dining. There. Sorry for that. Yes, better. So here you can see the slots for the chair. And this is all the slots on the table. So the blue one will be usually assigned to something functional. So it can be like a computer, can be the plates, can be where the Sims will eat, where they will like put their food or their drink. And so we can see this is a 3 people table. So what I'm gonna do is export that mesh so I can use it. Thank you, Sophie. So I can use it to keep the proportions. So I use export mesh, and I will call it original. And then I open it, and this is the table I have. So there is, I don't know the name, but this is a view which is not very easy to work with. So I hit 5 so I can have a, I think it's autonomic, orthonormal in French, but I don't know in English. So usually what I do is I remove everything that I don't need. So camera, lamp, rig, delete. Then it's all black because I don't have any light, but that's okay because then I'm gonna change for solid. So this is completely blank. Because I'm a alpha creator, I don't like to use the EA assets, and it's most applied to drop shadows. I hate drop shadows. So usually we can't delete them. So I make them very small, like this, like very, very small. And then I will hide it inside the table, so there won't be any drop shadow. This item has 3 mesh cuts. Mesh cuts are a group of items in Blender. Will have different shader. So this one have 2 drop shadows, so it means like probably this big one, and then another group for the feet here. And the third one, the fang, is usually the solid mesh, which will be the table. So because this I don't want either, I will delete it. And this one I will duplicate with Shift D. And I will assign the cut. So the cut is a plugin, especially for Sim 4 Studio. It will tell inside Sim 4 Studio which mesh cut is assigned to which group. So the 0 is the drop shadow I hide inside the table. This one is duplicate, will be 1, and the table will be 2. But we won't use this table, we will create our own. So to create a new shape, I'm gonna hit Shift A and I'm gonna make a cube. Now this cube is too large. So to be able to see the the original, I'm gonna hit Z so I can have the wireframe view, and this way I'm gonna be able to see what the proportion and what I'm doing. So to scale down, I'm gonna use S here, and this is reduce proportionally my cube. So I'm gonna make the same length at the original. Then I'm gonna reduce the height, and to be able to only scale on one axis, I'm gonna do S and Z. This will only reduce the Z axis. Then to move your mesh, you have to hit G and the display keyboard left. Sorry. So G, and if you want to only move it on one axis, then you can hit Z. So you can zoom in, and I will put it at the same height of the original here. Now this looks good in the front view, but if I move, it's obviously too large. So now I'm gonna use the 3 on my keyboard, on my numpad, so you can have the side view. On the side view, I'm gonna use the S to scale and Y to choose the Y axis. If I hit Z, I can have the wireframe view. So I can move it to the right size. So that's the first part. Now we're gonna do the legs, and because the only proportion we wanted to have, we can remove that now. The table, we don't need it anymore because the top of the table is already made. So this one I delete. Now to make the legs, it's basically 3 times the same shape. So we will make one, and then we will duplicate and move around the other 2. So I'm gonna create another, it's better to be inside the same mesh group. So I click on my top of the table, hit Tab to go in edit mode, and then I hit Shift A and add another cube. So same here. If you see my reference, I'm gonna start with this one first. So I'm gonna go in a side view and hit Z to be in wireframe view, and then I'm gonna reduce it to fit where I want it to be. Approximately. So this is the vertex selection. I can use the face selection. So hi Ravashin, so nice for you to come. Ravashin is in a holiday. So you can select this face and move it where it's supposed to be, and put that one on the floor 0. If you want to be sure it's on ground 0, you can go on 3D cursor pivot point, like here, and then hit SZ0, and you will put it where your cursor pivot point is, and by default is always on the center. If you click somewhere and it's not on the center, you can hit Shift C and we go back. That's so nice. I hope you're having a good time and that the weather is good. So now I go to front view and I'm gonna make it thinner. So S, and because I want it only to move it on the X axis, X. So that should be approximately the shape I want. Now we want to make the hole inside. There's a very easy way to do this. And hello Sylvie, welcome here. There is a very easy way to do this, and there is a tool I use a lot, which is Loop Tools. I'm not sure it's by default on Blender, but it's free, so you can download it and install it. It's a plugin. So what I do is I select this face and the other one. Then I go to the side view and wireframe. And then I'm gonna hit E to extrude. So it kind of duplicates the face. And then with the individual origin pivot point selected, I'm gonna hit S. Why I'm doing this is because if I have, for example, the median point, it will go toward each other. It will create this crease, which I don't want. So if I choose individual origins, then it will stay on their face, kind of. So if I go to side view and wireframe so I can see what I'm doing, and I reduce, then I can create what I want. Because it's not really a square, it's a rectangle. It's usually going faster on the Y than the X. So I might have to adjust like this. And if I'm happy with this, I can delete only the faces. And now I have a hole, and now I can close here. So I can either do it manually, or I can use the loop tool like I told you before, because it has a very nice features called bridge. It will join automatically what you selected. Ta-da! It's magic. It's very cool. So what's your question? So usually I don't have any tips. Usually I do it by eye. There is if you doing maxis match, for example, you can kind of use the proportion of each item. So you can take an item you want to kind of look like and keep the proportion of this. There is also an option that you can do. For this, it won't help because my picture is not like flat or front view, but sometimes I like to use the background image option here. So basically you can add an image background. What can I take to give an example? Well, let's take this one. So if I hit side view, then I have this image and I can use this to keep my proportion. So that's nice when you, like for example, take a reference from a a furniture shop, and in the website you have a perfect side view, front view of the furniture with the like proportion and size and dimensions, so you can keep the proportion right. So back to our table. So this looks good, but because I'm an alpha creator and I love polygons, sorry, this is too sharp for me, and I like to add bevel to all my items. So a bevel will be like if you look at any item you have on your desk, for example, it's never completely sharp, the edges. It's always like a little curvy, kind of. So I'm gonna use it on the top first. So first, there's one thing that is very important to know, is that Blender smooths the every item you export. What does this mean is, if I click here on smooth, you can see that it looks very not sharp. So to fix that, you have to apply edge split modifier to everything you create. What this is doing is actually with an angle, you will put an angle here, and whatever is under this angle, hello Natalie, welcome, you can choose which angle will be smooth or not. So if I put it under 90 degrees, because this is all square, it will stay sharp. But if, for example, I put 160, then it will be smooth again. So if you have an item that have both, like a door, for example, and the knob is round and the door is sharp, hello Newstar, it's so nice to have you here. Then you can use this modifier, and you can define by hand which edge is sharp. For that, you go in the shading tab and you hit sharp. So you can see on the leg, I didn't put any sharp, so it's still very smooth, while on the top, it's not smooth anymore. So for my bevel, I will stay at 30 because my item is all square, so we won't need this. But on my top, I will now apply a bevel. So bevel is Control B. But as you can see, because I deform my mesh, it's not completely, I don't know, homothetic. I don't know if it's an English word. It's not completely proportional. So for that, I have to go back in object mode, hit Control A and apply all transformation. And now when I go back to my mesh and I hit Control B to do my bevel, it's all nice. So I'm gonna put a very small bevel. Actually, the naked eye won't be even able to see it, but it's there. So I'm gonna do same with the leg. Now I'm gonna apply all the sharp. I could use only the exterior, but I like to apply it also on the diagonal, because usually if I take my picture, maybe I can zoom in. Usually you can always see a seam, because in real life the wood won't be like obviously seamless. So I like to add this. So I'm gonna select everything. To select everything is L. And I'm gonna add a bevel too. So now I could go on and duplicate the leg to put it where I want, but I want to save time. And one thing that takes time is unwrapping Unwrapping UV map. So because I'm gonna duplicate it, if I put my themes right now, I won't have to do it again later. So I'm gonna do it now. So what are unwrapping texture? So right now, this is a nice shape you have in Blender, but if we want to be able to apply a texture, we have to define which surface is where, and it's like origami, kind of. You have to cut your model so you can put it on a 2D map, basically, where the empty square we have on the left is the UV map. So the nice thing I like about the bevel is that creating texture is super fast because it's very easy to select a loop edge. A loop edge will be an edge that will go around the item. So usually when I have a square item like this, I'm gonna hit Alt right click like this, and you can see it select all around my edge loop. So this will mark seam. I'm gonna undergo the sharp so you can see better what I'm doing. So the red is like a scissor cut to my texture. I'm gonna do the same for the bottom here, and then I'm gonna cut the sides in 4. The smaller island you will have, the better, because when you unwrap your model on Blender, it will keep the proportion. Like for example, because the top is bigger than everything else, if this side is very long because you didn't put any seams all along, then it will take all the space from top to bottom. So let me show you, because it might not be very understandable. Like for example, if I put just one seam here, and then I select this and I'm gonna unwrap, you can see because this part is very long, then the top part is small. But if I cut it all the way in 4 parts and I hit E to unwrap, then it's bigger because those parts are smaller. Also, we can see that the proportions are still weird. So I'm gonna put back the transformation and this will change weirdly. Yes, better. So you have 2 methods of unwrapping. I don't really know how exactly this works or means, but I usually try them both and keep the result I prefer. This is nice for now. So same with the legs, because this is wood, and when you see the texture, you can see like this is supposed to be seamless, but this is not. So I'm gonna cut it here, basically on the 4 edges, and then, so this is first, because I need a cut here to be able to cut this kind of tube. Sorry, I don't have enough vocabulary to explain this. Anyway, so same, because I have a bevel. Yes, my very French accent, sorry. The bevel will add an edge loop that once again is very easy to select. So I just click on Alt right click and mark seam, and now I have 4. So if I'm trying this, you can see that everything is in order, everything is nice. I always put margin, and you can see that there's no overlapping faces. So this will work, but we will go back to the unwrapping later. Now we have put our seams, So that will help for later. So now we have one leg. I'm gonna go in front view. I'm gonna remove the background images and let's see how far it is. We can see it's maybe 1/4. So maybe here, and then I will hit Shift D to duplicate, but instead of like putting it by eye, and I'm not sure if it will be exactly symmetrical, I will hit right click to let it in place, and I will put my pivot point to the 3D cursor because it's exactly in the middle, and I will hit Ctrl M X, which will mirror my selection from the point on the X-axis. So one thing to note is like every time I mirror something, I don't know why, but it mirrors like literally everything, and that means also faces. That's why it's weird like this. It's because the normals are inverted. So that's very simple to fix. You just click on flip direction, but you have to be aware of that and don't forget to do it. So we're almost done. Now we just need to add this middle part here. So this will be the same shape than this, so we can reuse it. Yes, the mirror in your star. And it basically works with any axis, and you can put your pivot point wherever you want. Like for example, if I wanted legs on top of it, but I don't want the middle to be the middle here, I want the middle to be this, for example, I can select the top table, hit Shift S cursor to selected, so it will put the pivot point like in the middle of my selection, and then I select Ctrl M and then X, Y or Z, depending on where you want it. So for example, if I put my pivot point here and I select this and I Shift D to duplicate, then I hit Ctrl M Z, no, Ctrl M Z, and it will duplicate following the Z axis compared to my pivot point, and then flip direction. But I don't want a leg on the top of the table because it's there. So I always put back my pivot point in the middle. So now I'm going to duplicate this, and I will rotate it with the Z axis to put it perpendicular with the table. So R to rotate, and Z, so I keep it on the Z axis, but I don't want it to be from the pivot point, I want it to be from itself. So I will choose the median point, R, Z and 90, so it's now exactly perpendicular. So I go back in the front view, and now you can see that if I hit S, I will kind of lose the proportions. Like if I really want the thickness of the foot to be exactly the same that this, I better move it by hand instead of just like, it's Syboulette, my name. It means a lot of things. Like usually with a C, it's like an herb to eat, like to put on food. Like, I don't know, Syboulette. So what I'm gonna do is do it by hand. So I put it in the middle, and I will go in wireframe view so I can select front and back. So I take the top. You know what? I will keep it here so I can see exactly what I'm doing. So I'm selecting the bottom and I will, nope. Sorry. B to select the bottom, yes. And then I move it by hand. And here I have to lower the top. Like this. Nope. Like this. And now I'm going to do the same on the front view. By moving it, just have a look how far does it go. Moving it like this. So I'm going to use the grid of Blender to help me. So it's proportional and symmetric. There. Et voilà. So now we have the table from our reference. All done. So this is the easy part. This is the meshing. Basically what I explain to people is like the texturing will take maybe 1/3 of the work, depending on what you're doing. But there is still a very important process which I already talked about before, which is the unwrapping. So the unwrapping is how we're gonna cut this. Because I already made all my seams, it will be easy. But there is one trick I use, is that because I will be using wood on the legs, I want all my island, so island will be like a one shape in the UV map, to be on the same orientation, so they all have the fiber on the same orientation. So to unwrap now, I have to select everything, and I can either use this or I can use E. It's also very important to have margin, so I don't have that much margin, but at minimum, very minimum is 2.005. Usually I take a little more if I have space, which is the case today. Yes. My accent is it's weird. I think my accent is French, but also like with other language accent, because I learn English in many different countries. The UV map is very small. Like one very frustrating thing when you're working on a 3D model is like you never have enough space on the UV map. You always want more space, because the bigger the island will be, the more sharp the texture will look in game. And because the Sims game is also very restrained, and I don't like to make my texture HQ, because I think the majority of people don't use HQ texture. I try to always use 1K texture. So the texture that we don't need, I'm gonna put them smaller. Thank you, Alessandro. Like for example, the bottom of the table, because we don't really see it in the game. I'm cheating and I will put it smaller. And also because this will be concrete, I don't mind if this and this is not the same rotation. Whereas the legs, because I like the fiber to be always on the same rotation, I will put all my legs on the same order. So every island I will air 90 to put it in the same orientation. I also try to keep the same orientation, like everything. You can see this part and this part, because then in game the light engine will react kind of very weirdly if you have like top to bottom and bottom to top, and sometimes the light and the shading is weird. So I put always everything same song. So for now I don't mind, I don't care about if they're overlapping or not. I will use a trick that will reorganize everything exactly as I want. Now I'm just moving everything horizontal like this. Like this, and the last one like this. So now, because I'm very lazy and I already worked too much, I'm gonna let Blender reposition everything by hitting Ctrl P. But now he's like breaking all the work I did because he's rotating again. So I just untoggle this, rotate, and it will keep my work intact. So the thing I don't like about it is I'm losing a lot of space for nothing here. And that's mostly because of those two. So because this is concrete and not wood, this is probably the sidings of my concrete top table. I'm gonna put it here. So I'm gonna try again. It's better, much better. And I think I'm pleased with this. So I'm gonna put back some margin. Margin is very important because even if we don't see it, the game always overlaps the texture. So if the texture are too close from each other, then it will have weird result in game like usual. So this is finished for the unwrapping. Yay! Because this is new mesh cut, I need to apply the mesh cut 2, like we talked about earlier. And now I can save. So I'm gonna save as. It's better if you save before. Like, this is very arrogant of me of not saving at all, because you never know what happens. Although there is an autosave function at Blender, which usually works pretty well, but always save. So table, and I will put high because this is the high resolution, and I'm gonna show you then that we have to make several load. Although because this is very square, there won't be much possibility to reduce polygon, and 400 is very low, especially for a dining table. If I can give like some references about the polygon, for example, the sim resource limits our creation to 2000 polygon per tile. So for a dining table like this, which is 2 tiles, I would be allowed to 4000 polygon. So 400 is very small. Very small from what I also used to do, but it's a taboo thing about Sims doing polygons. I don't like it, sorry. Anyway, so now we finish with this. We're gonna do the texture. So I like to use Substance Painter. This is kind of new for me. I think I started using Substance Painter in November. I was a bit afraid of it at the beginning, but now I love it and I do everything with Substance Painter. And I don't use Blender anymore. I used to do it with Blender before, but Substance Painter is better. I know it's not free, but if you wait for sales, especially during Black Fridays or kind of like that, you can have the software for a very low price. For example, I think mine, I had it for 140 euros for a full year license. And with the software, you also have access to a very large library of texture, which have maxis match texture, like kind of stylized texture, and you have 30 texture free each month, and you can see that it's way more than enough because I don't use my 30 per month. So to be able to import my object in Substance Painter, I have to export it in OBJ. So I'm gonna choose Export OBJ and then selection only, and usually I don't use white materials, so I don't have several texture, because if I'm using texture here, then when I import in Substance Painter, I'm gonna put every texture in separate layer, and then it's very annoying to work with when I'm gonna bake in Blender, when I show you later. So here I hit new. I'm gonna choose a 2K resolution. It won't be my final resolution, but to bake I can keep all the detail as long as possible, it's better. I have also to choose OpenGL because this is how Blender works. And then I choose my table. There it is. So, our sample have concrete top and wood here. I don't know wood. I can't recognize wood by eye. So usually I just put my wood here. I'm gonna make it large, and I just try to find something that looks kind of same. So maybe this. And I also downloaded something that could be matching, I think. Like maybe this one. So this is very ugly. So we have to move the settings. So first we have the choice between plain, reef, crown, live. Plain is the most realistic one. Reef it would be like line. Crown is like with knot, and live is like very round. So if I look at it's very not like this. Also you can change the scale because this is way too big for a table. So we're gonna go for maybe plain, or maybe no, I'm not sure about it. I'm gonna hit it for now and try another one. Oh, this one's much better. I think we're gonna go with this one, definitely. So Mapper it will be. So we are lucky. It's right away, I think, on the right orientation. And if it was not the case, I have to select it, and there will be rotation here, for example. There, no, 0, yes. So we'll make it smaller, and that's nice because now we have the small knot exactly like our model. I think that's all. I think I won't even change the color, maybe a little bit lighter, and I also like when it's not, I like desaturated item. I receive sometimes some feedbacks being my objects are very sad, but I'm so sorry, I like it. So if I still find it a little too bright, I can still move it here. There. So now we have the problem because I don't want the top to be in wood either. So I could just put my concrete over it, but sometimes the normal map between the thing that we make bumps, it will show through. So it's better to hide it. So to hide it, I'm gonna create a mask. So I put right click, and white mark means everything appears. And then I choose this tool here, and I'm going to choose object selection, black to hide, and I just click on the top. So now the texture don't apply to the top. And for this, I go back to materials and I will apply, look for concrete. So I have already some of them. I think I like this one a lot. I think I use it all the time for my concrete item, and even build, and I even made wallpaper with it. So this is my favorite concrete ever. It's very, very natural, very clean. So same up the wood, I'm gonna reduce the scale so it looks a little less weird. And I will reduce the crack as well, because this is a table, this is not a wall. And I will maybe put it a little lighter. I think the reference was way lighter. There. Same for the legs. I'm gonna hide the legs. So I'm put it this time. It's always the balance between what the most annoying to remove. So I'm put it black, so negative, and then I will put the object selection with white, and I just click on the top, instead of clicking on each leg and have to remove everything. So we could stop here, but there is one thing that is very nice with Sandstone Spider is the procedural effect. So what I'm gonna add is a little dust to add more realism in everything that will touch itself. So before doing, no, I'm gonna show before so you can see the difference. So I'm gonna use a fill layer, which is basically kind of same. It works same that Photoshop. It's white layer I put here. I will select only the color here, and I want it dust, so maybe a brown like this. I can change it later, and I will put it in multiply. So now you can see it's like very dirty. Then I will put the white any mask, and I will add a generator, and I will add some dots. Because I didn't bake any occlusion, for now it looks kind of not pretty, but I'm gonna go here, click bake mesh maps. I don't have any question. I hope I'm not losing you here. And changing the resolution to 2K and bake the texture. And now what it's gonna do is, instead of just putting evenly the dirt everywhere, it will put the dirt in what we call ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is the shadow object produced over itself. So if I click here, I can see ambient occlusion. You can see like there is obviously here, and because it's like shadow, it projects on itself. So now I can play with the level of dirt, because this is not, it's not supposed to be that dirty. So I will just remove a little dirt, and I will probably remove some contrast, and that's it. So there's not much left, but you can see the difference before, after. It adds a lot of realism. This is maybe not necessary if you're doing maxis match, because maxis match is not always aiming at realism, but you can sometimes do it with color, and it will all actually add some depth to your texture. And if you do this with color, it can kind of add some depth, I think, to your texture. So I find it a little too dark, so I probably put it lighter. here, there. So now I'm happy with the results. Yeah, me too. And I also, I always hope that it will look like this in The Sims, and unfortunately it doesn't. I really hope that Sims 5 will have a better engine. I'm also thinking maybe 3 here. No, 2. 2 is good. Because sometimes we have, I didn't use it here, but for example, sometimes I like to use some very glossy texture. And it looks so great, but then again, it looks crap. So I hope one day we will have better lighting engine in The Sims. Let's hope so. So now we have to export the texture. So I'm gonna go to File, Export Textures. I'm gonna choose my directory. Here, I usually just put it right away, but because you're watching, I have to be more careful. So I create a folder with the texture. And here you can select which texture you're gonna export, and I don't use all of this. I don't use emissive, I don't use height because it's same as normal from my point of view. So I use those 4. Export. So now we are going to bake. So what bake means? For example, I'm gonna load my model here so you can see it. So I click on my table high. Don't worry, there is some hole because the original texture had some alpha transparency. If I put my texture right away, like what I just made, it will look okay-ish, but not good enough, especially. Bye, Ravishing. Please enjoy the pool. So lucky. I wish I was in the pool too. So the bake, it's kind of, we will put in a box our object, and with special lighting and all the texture, especially like the roughness and the metallic and the normals, and we will fix the texture as it appears on the item. So it's kind of trompe-l'œil. I don't know the translation of this. Trompe-l'œil. What is trompe-l'œil? I guess it's a French word. Thank you. So this is a trompe-l'œil, I think they use the French word. So for doing that, I usually have already preset baking settings. So because it's always the same settings, so I don't lose time. I also need to use 2.79 because the shader I'm using don't exist in 2.76. So I have another version of Blender here on my desktop. And you can see that I have my bake setting already set up, and the last object I made was the door from the Charlotte set. So what this bake setting has. So first I'm gonna copy my table here, Ctrl+C, and put it here. There is a material here that is already set up with everything I need. What is this? It's the principal BSDF, which is the shader I told you about, which only exists starting 2.79 and it was not existing before. You can do this in 2.76, but it's more complicated. It will require more nodes. A node is like this, like one plug. And this is easier to use, especially if you use a Substance Painter. You just need to plug whatever you just made directly in it. So if you start from zero, it kind of takes time. I also put some edge curves because I can easily like make it lighter or darker, especially on roughness, because sometimes roughness is a little bit too high for the themes, so I have to put it lower. So I'm gonna replace all the texture with mine, the one I just created with Substance Painter. So first I'm gonna start with the diffuse. Here, base color. I can also put you the material view so you can see in live how it can change the object. So then I will put the metallic here, and then the roughness, and then the normal here. And now if I hit render, ta-da, super pretty. There's also a thing that it's already set in my bake settings. It's the HDRI environment. The HDR, I don't know how to pronounce it. HDRI environment is what replaced the lamp I delayed. Basically what he does, it's like instead of having a gray background, it uses an image and lights the scene with this image. So I have a different HDRI in my library, and depending on what I'm doing, I'm gonna use some of them. So for example, the one I always use for like 90% of my item is this one. It's like a basic studio for lighting. This one is perfect if you have an object with not much reflex, because it will add the same light everywhere, but because it also has some differences between light and dark, it will still add some nuances. But if, for example, I have a glass and I have a reflection, then I will use something more realistic. So I can either use that kind, I can't put it larger. Yes. I can either use that one, which will be more abstract, or I can use a realistic one depending on what I want on the reflection. But today I'm going to use this one. I can also increase the strength of the light. So for example, if I want like very strong shadows, or more the opposite, if I want something more, but usually 2 is a nice choice. And the last setting I have on my bake settings is the bake sampling. Usually I use 600 because I have a very strong computer, and I think it's the nice in between the quality of the texture and the time it will take to bake. But the problem is baking, it uses a lot of the GPU of the computer. The GPU meaning like the motor of the computer. So when I tested this live stream, if I launch my bake right like this, like it cuts everything and you won't see me, and it will be freezing for 30 seconds. So I won't do it. I will put it to 10 and my texture will be very noisy, but that's okay because I can just bake it again after the live, and when I will put this object to download, I will rebake the texture better. But just to show you, I just will bake it at 10. So it's gonna cut like for 5 seconds, I think, but it's very, very fast. So you can see, because it's a low resolution, there is a lot of noise. If I bake at 600, there won't be any noise. But for now, I'm gonna use this for the purpose of this live stream, and I'm gonna bake better resolution later. So I'm gonna save this image here. I usually call it 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and very original because I don't like to type a lot. And now you will see the difference between the raw texture we put it from Substance Better and the one we just bake. See how more realistic it looks? I put it back the other one so you can see before, after. Now I can change the color. This is right click. I discovered this very late in my process of CC creating, and I was like, ah. So useful. The least detail we want for our texture, if we want our item to look really nice, is the specular and normal texture. So what are those? I think I'm gonna make a special tutorial video especially for those two, because those are the forgotten texture map of Creator, and this is what makes the difference between quality item and regular item. Like, this will really add some depth, detail, and realistic behavior, even in the scenes, even with the crappy light engine. So normal map will add some tiny detail, kind of trompe-l'œil details, because it will look like it has some details, like carved or bump or anything, but the mesh is actually flat. So for our model, for example, in the concrete, there can be some very tiny small crack, and the wood will have fiber. And this is also a nice thing about Substance Better, is like, I already have a normal map. But because EA is EA, he never does like everyone else. So instead of using normal map, like any engine would do, we have to transform it. So I will import it in Photoshop, and there is a trick I do very quickly. So at first it's a little bit confusing, but then you get used to it very quickly. So I go here. So sorry, my Photoshop is in French, so I don't know how to translate this. This is probably layer. This is where you have your air, red, blue, green, RBG layers. So you click on red, you click on Control A for select everything, Control C to copy, and then you will click on the little plus here to add an alpha layer, and Control V. Bonne nuit, moi aussi je m'endors. Tu pourras, je vais le poster quand j'aurai fini. Tu pourras le regarder, tu pourras regarder la fin si tu veux. Good night, Nathalie. So the red go in alpha, and then the green, Control A, Control C, go in red and blue. That should have a result grayish like this. Because this is 2K and I want only 1K, I will change the size of the image of 1024, and then I will save this in DDS. DDS is a gaming format that will keep the alpha layer, because PNG can have transparency, but PNG won't keep the alpha layer, which is super important because we do have information on this alpha layer. So I export in DDS. I usually don't change the name because I'm super lazy. And now we're gonna do the roughness. So same, the roughness is channels, yes, right. Thank you. It's the RBG channels. For the roughness, it's same. It's they don't do like anyone. Actually, I think it's RBG specular, they call it. So first, when I open it, it's gray, so I have to put back the RGB color. So there is different technique for doing the roughness. First, I usually invert because the roughness compared to specular is inverted. Here you can see that the light gray is my concrete and the dark gray is the wood. So I'm lucky because both have the same roughness, which probably is kind of none. So I can use the same color for everything, but if not, I would need to select and choose whatever part I want to assign color to. If you want to know which color to use to get the special effect, if you want a reflection or not, or glossy or anything, there are a lot of tutorials on Sim4 Studio, and actually Little Dika made a super helping program and tutorial with I think it's on his Tumblr, with colors like for example, yellow is super shiny, red is super glossy, blue is matte, and kind of stuff like that. So usually for me, I like to use either this very light blue for kind of matte with a very little reflection, or I use the red, dark red like this for wood. So I think I'm gonna use this one for this one. So I just add a layer and hit multiply, and then I merge everything. I go back in my layer, I add my alpha, and usually I use one of the three layer, Ctrl C, as my alpha, and the alpha is kind of like how much you're gonna see it in game. So usually if I don't want a lot of roughness, especially on this table, which probably have close to none because the wood and the concrete are not reflective, I will put it pretty dark like this. So because this is gray, we will still have a little, very little shine on the concrete, but not much on the wood. Then I put back my 1K resolution and I save. There. So now I need to replace in my file here. So my normal map, it will always appear gray because you have the alpha, so it's already gray, and because of the alpha make it transparent, it's even more gray. Same with this, it will be gray because the alpha is so strong that we can't even see the red. Okay, and last thing we have to do is making all the load. So as I said, because mine is very small, I won't do the medium load because I can't really see where I can, this is my original, where I can remove polygon. I could remove those, but we will gain very few. It won't really be helpful. So I think I'm just gonna use the same for this one. So I just use the same file. And now for the shadow, using this as shadow is like in game, when you will have the sun outside, it will make the shadow according to the shape of what you put here. And because it have only one mesh cut, I have to create another file where I delete the drop shadow here and assign this one to 0. And then I save as, and I will call it shadow and replace here and here. There. Because we did not change the proportion, I don't need to use this, but if any case you want to, like if for example my table was like 3 tiles and you want to move the footprints, you can use this to adjust the footprint, like the green square in game. You can also change the tag here. So now it's gray and light brown. This is especially important since the last update, because now if you have the Dream Home Decorator game pack, the client can ask you some theme color. So if your item are nicely tagged, then it will work better. And now about the slot. So the nice thing about keeping proportion is you don't need to change slot, because it works already as it's supposed to. People like to have a lot of deco slots, more deco slots than the original EA, because it's always nicer to build with it. But you have to know that Sims 4 Studio is limited to 160. So sometimes we can add more, but sometimes we can't. If we want to add more, there is 3 types of deco slot. There is the small one, like this green one I have selected. There is the blue one, like this. This is medium. And the red one, which is the large. Basically, an item will be defined as small, large, or medium, which will be defined in the object catalog. You can see here, there is a line called slot deco size. Slot deco size, when it's 0, it means it will never be able to be put on a slot. It will basically go on the floor, whatever. If it's 1, it will be small. If it's 2, it will be medium. This is to avoid, like if I have a small shelf like this and I have a big lamp, which is supposed to be on a table, it just won't fit. I won't be able to. So here I can either duplicate this using copy, or I can just add and type this manually. Like if I add, and this is empty, this has nothing, and then I put deco SML 0, it will create 1. See? It will automatically replace the slot. But I won't use this technique, because then I have to enter manually everything, and that's annoying. So delete. Instead, I'm going to choose 1 here, and I'm going to copy it. So it's duplicated on the same position, and now I just move it where I want. So there is this very useful tool called transform. You have either move or offset. So move, if I put directly a coordinate, it will move this object to the coordinate. So for example, this one have the coordinate on x, which is right to left, on 0.6. If I move to 0.91, it will move to 0.1, which is like a fixed coordinate. But if I use offset, wherever he is, it will put 0.91. Sorry, getting tired. 0.9 from where it is. So, for example, here. So you can just move around the slots with here X between left and right, Y being up, like depth, front or back. So for example, this one I will put it a little closer. Okay, I said closer there, and then you can move wherever you want. So this is nice here, because we can see there were a hole here, so if wherever people want to put stuff here. The nice thing to do is also clone every it or every placemate like this, it, to put a deco slot, because the builders, when they have like a deco plate, they like to do like a presentation. So, and we can't. So usually I just go here, I copy. I hope to copy. Where is it? Ah, there. And I just change to deco SML 0. Or 1 or 8. So the it is still here, it's just below. We can't see it, but you can see here it's a overlay. Duke. So I think you shouldn't worry about the number, because it will automatically put some number not used after. So here I copy and then I put, I think it was 20 there. There. I won't do more for this because this is very annoying, and you can guess now why a creator don't put slots on everything, because it's a very tiresome work to put all the slots everywhere. Imagine when I created my Christmas tree with 160 slots, custom slots, where I have to put everything by hand. Lot of work. Anyway, I think we're done here. Oh no, there's one last thing. There's the one thing EA use in this game, it's called occluder. Occluder is like a shape of shadow it will put in item, and it's very ugly. It's very, very, very badly done. So I delete them all the time, whatever the object is. I don't look back, I just delete them, destroy them. It's So you go on light in the warehouse, click on occluder, edit items, and just remove them all. That's it. I think we're done. So now we're gonna do one last thing, which is renaming this. So usually I have how to say, I always use the same way of naming stuff, so I can copy here. I use HTML so I can put color, so you can see my element better. So for the live stream, I'm gonna use, I don't know, like this pink. There. It's gonna call live dining table. There, and I always use the same text here. And this is pretty design. I always like to put like realistic prices, because maybe people will want to play with it with the real rule. So this is, I think this is the $100 table. So obviously, if we wanted to make more swatches, I can just reuse this and make all the swatches different. Like for example, because I already have everything, so I can make a swatch with like the wood darker, like this, and the top being black. But I'm gonna do all the swatches offline, and when I upload the item, you will have more swatches, especially since I have to rebake everything, because now the texture is not good quality and very noisy because of the problem I told you about. I actually learned this very recently, that you could do that, and you have more options. I think you can even like hide words. For example, I think Peacemaker made a tutorial about that. That, for example, on the title, you can hide some words. So when you type in game something, it don't like flood the title, but it will still appear. Like for example, if I wanted this like to put like concrete and I don't know what you're supposed to hit. I think it was something like this, you know, the vertical line, the vertical. I think if I put this, we're gonna test it. You won't see concrete, but if in game you search for concrete, this table will appear. So that's nice when you don't want to have like a super long name, or even the Sib actually. But I want people to see this is Sib because it's easier. So now I'm gonna save, and we're gonna test the item in game to see if everything is right. It's very useful to test everything. So I just put it in my mods folder, and then I launch the Sims, the game. And hopefully it will be good. If you have questions, it's the time, because I think we're almost done. So as you can see, I usually, this is my test save game. So you have some pretty weird lot to test stuff. So I'm gonna test in this one. Yes, it kind of exactly. Because the other one has a very strict project, because TSR is preparing a new collab end of June, I think, and we are all making sets on the same team. It will be very nice. I made 2. So this was my Charlotte set. I think it was my small cottage, and this is my studio where I take my screenshots. This made by Rarashin. They are very useful to make thumbnail, because you have a perfect blank background. So I'm just gonna put it inside here. So let's look for it live. Oh, actually, you can see here that there is no concrete in the title. So if I tap concrete, it still appears, so it works. I think any item can be a beginner. It's more, what would you not do? For example, everything that has functionality, everything that has geostates. Geostates is like, you will have to create a different shape of the item. Like for example, the trash bin, they have like a when they're empty, when they're medium filled, when they have when they are overfilled, and you have to make a lot of different swatches with the same texture, so it can be overwhelming to begin with. Same with a kitchen counter, which share the same texture. And the windows, the doors, very difficult to make. Any build like them is super difficult to make. So what I just made, a table, even a chair, is very easy to make. So here you can see my table, and it looks pretty good. So I think I'm missing a light in here, and the roof is super high. So putting a light is super important, because if you put any roughness on your item, you will be able to see it. So now we can see, and you can see when we go close, how the normal map have added some details. So I think it looks great, except maybe for the noise, I guess, because my texture is not very high quality because how I bake it, but I will do it better. So that's it for this tutorial. I hope I wasn't too fast. I hope you got everything. Which one is it? There. And I hope you liked it and that it was helpful, and that for those who didn't know how to use Blender, that now you want to learn how to use Blender, and maybe you'll be able to start your own adventure on creating custom content. As you can see, it could seem overwhelming, but it's definitely not. You just need to take one step at a time. And I think I enjoyed this, so I probably do this more often, and I probably also try to make more tutorial on specific aspect of the creation, especially like, for example, explaining more what is a normal map and how to make a normal map, and also how to make one when you don't have Substance Painter, and what's a specular map, and how to do geostate, how to do transparency also, because something I always have on my Tumblr, people are asking how to make glass. So if you don't have any more questions, I think we're going to stop now. And if you have any question later, don't hesitate to go on my Discord. You can always ask questions, or even in the comments, because I will be posting this video on YouTube. So you can still go back and watch again some parts if you need some more precision on this. Thank you so much for coming here. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much for being interested in what I do. And have a nice day, evening, I don't know, depending on where you are. Bye-bye.